Hello and welcome to Lambda U. My name is LICORbio and I am a LICOR Solutions and Support Scientist. Today, I'd like to start our conversation by asking you a question. Have you heard of protein assays? Well, if you have performed a protein assay, or even if you've only heard about them, chances are that you have heard that they can be very laborious and time-consuming and repetitive. Putting that together with how long the Western blot protocol is on its own, you may not be their biggest fan. You're not alone. I used to be the same way, and I had students that were the same way. A good example is a student of mine came to me, like most of them do, and asked, do I really need to do the protein assay every single time? And what I did was something similar to what my postdoc had done with me when I was a young student, and I guided him through a scenario where we ran a Western blot, first not doing a protein assay, therefore not really knowing how much protein was on each lane, and then running the same samples, loading the same amount after a protein assay. In the first one, we ran some samples without doing a protein assay. In the second scenario, we ran a protein assay before doing the Western blot. Well, in the first scenario, we couldn't really see a trend between the samples because it ended up that we loaded too much protein in some of the samples, which saturated the membrane. Well, on the second scenario, we could clearly see a trend in the band intensity that our drug treatment was leading to overexpression of our target. That made it very easy to understand that an internal loading control can only account for small pipetting errors or maybe some transfer issues, but can never substitute for actually knowing how much protein you've loaded on each lane. Now we're all on the same page, and everyone in the lab always runs a protein assay before every blot. So what do you have to gain by performing a protein assay before every single Western blot? Well, you're going to need less repetitions of each Western blot because your data is going to be more consistent. That also means that you're going to save time, samples, and resources. Ultimately, you're going to spare yourself from a big headache when it's time to share and publish that data because your data is going to be more accurate and significant. Proof of that is that some of the most well-renowned scientific journals have revised their guidelines for publishing Western blot, as you can see in the summary of this course. To help us in this journey, we have set 3 goals for today's video. First, we need to understand why should I estimate the protein concentration of my samples before every Western blot. Then, we need to understand what is the science behind the protein assays. Last but not least, we want to make sure that we know how we can confidently choose and perform the right protein assay for our samples. So let's jump right in and start talking about what is a protein assay.